Do you find yourself as an introverted extrovert, or you find yourself chasing when you should be attracting? This can be signs that you have trauma and you are living in a dissonant life. Hi, I'm Jennifer Evans with Empowering Wellness Solutions, and this week we are talking all about conflict resolution, and we're looking at the conflict in ourselves today. We're following our book, Key Steps to Live a Happier and Healthier Life, Part 3, which goes into interpersonal effectiveness. And I thought it would be great to talk about because I get a lot of this kind of, oh, I'm just an introverted extrovert. No, baby, you have trauma. That is a sign, that dissonance, that cognitive dissonance. Logically, I know, emotionally, I can't feel. This idea that I am both introverted and extroverted is a sign of a trauma brain. And so we're going to go in today to understand how this trauma is working and how do we break free. If we are an attractor, how do we stay an attractor? Stop chasing things. Stop feeling like we are in those 4 habits that happen, the barriers to growth and success. Fear of success, fear of failure, self-sabotage, and scarcity mindset. That is what is taking over. So let's dive in. So trauma often drives us towards behaviors of opposite to our natural tendency. And this is because of the fact that it gets into that negative dynamic and that saying goodbye to bad brain. Remember the first book that I wrote, Saying Goodbye to Bad Brain, talked all about how to release the negative narrative. And so the brain is just a tool for survival. It's trying to figure out and make sense of everything that is happening in life. And so this negative narrative gets built because trauma and stress comes on us, and the brain is trying to make sense of what's happening. And as it's making sense of what's happening, it's using a cognitive distortion called personalization. And personalization says it must be my fault in some way, shape, or form. I must not be of value. I must not be that good. It has to be my fault that these things happen to me. And the reality is it's not your fault. The reality is you do have value. You have a lot of value. Value is given to you. But people will do bad things. And there is evil and bad in the world. And so it's to lean on the good, because shame and guilt will keep you in your trauma and your grief. And what we found out in our part 2, emotional regulation of the key steps to live a happier and healthier life, is that grief is actually a thread throughout our lives. And it's a journey to acceptance, not sorrow. And when we can be present with our emotions every single day, we can find the acceptance and we can start letting go of this negative narrative and the things that come along with it. And so how we develop this stuff is that negative dynamic that I talk about so much. That is in the last chapter of the emotional regulation, is this negative dynamic. It starts with universal constructs that we all have, and it spreads out and feeds our emotional reactions, our attachment, our trauma and our stress, and our perceived expectations. And what keeps them going is cognitive distortions, negative narrative, invoicing, and our emotional expressions. And so what we see is that negative narrative is really taking over in our ability to feel seen and heard, like we belong, that we're valued, that we're safe and secure, and that we have agency. How many times have we been in a distressed state and we truly cannot see, you could not tell me that you have agency in this situation? And in depression, that's where it really comes in strong too. That helplessness and hopelessness is key factors of what depression is. And that's us losing our agency and being able to see that we would ever have agency again. And that's what leads to suicide. I mean, honestly, that delusion, that perceived reality gets so strong, you can't see any other way out. But ultimately, we all have that perception of lack of agency. It may never get to that link, but we're all living on all these spectrums, and that's just another spectrum we're living on. And the negative narrative is stripping us from feeling like we can do better and like we deserve more. And in the very beginning of all of this, 243 episodes ago, actually probably 247 at this point, episodes ago, we did a pathway to success, and we did the barriers that block our pathway and what leads us to the pathway of success. And that is what kicked off the part 1 series, a key steps to live in a happier and healthier life, is building that pathway to success, finding those values, those intentions, purpose-driven life, all of that is what kicked it all off. And that is the neurological mechanism connecting our internal dissonance to our success barriers. Is if we follow the pathway to success, we will break through those barriers. But if we don't, then we find ourselves connecting to external validators. We find ourselves disregarding the positive. We find ourselves in these dissonant situations where we feel like we need to find control because we're focused on outcomes. And we haven't let go and realized that we have no control over outcomes. We can only put out processes, and we're blocking ourselves from these processes. We're so focused on the external validator and I can do this. And you're swimming upstream, buddy. I'm telling you right now, you are swimming upstream, and that's a lot of dissonance. It's a lot of backlash that you're going to get. It's not going to be an easy. And then you're going to reinforce those cognitive distortions in that negative narrative. But when you can lift your feet up and have faith, just ride the waves, follow the stream wherever it goes. Understand you don't have control over outcomes. You only have control over processes. You just fight like heck to put as many processes as possible that you can out there. The world is your oyster. Everything is a potential and a possibility. You realize how much of an attractor you are. You realize how much you can command a situation. You don't have to like people, but you can command a situation. You realize how much control you actually have when you stop feeling like you have to gain perceived control. You realize how much agency you truly have and all the potentials that are out there for you. And so we're trying to find our authentic self. We're going back to stage 1, part 1 of a happier, healthier life. Go get that book where we are building a life worth living. We're identifying what our values are, and we are only making decisions based on the values that we have. What a concept. When you make decisions on the values that you have, you realize the only decisions you have to make are value-based decisions. What a great life to live. So I encourage you to reconcile these conflicts and understand that this is all about that negative narrative. Get saying goodbye to bad brain, release that negative narrative, and realize how much potential and agency you truly have. The workbooks will also help you to have key activities and journal prompts to help you reflect amongst your day, amongst your week. It's not a one and done thing. It's something that is an active, live support for you to continue to live an intentful, purpose-driven life. And as you continue to go back to those activities and exercises, find your awareness, your acceptance, and learn your action steps, build that toolkit, you'll realize just how much agency you have, how much you actually belong in these situations, in good situations, and receiving good and positive blessings. How much you are actually seen and heard, how safe and secure you are, how valued you are. You grab all that internal value and you let go of the external validators. If you want to know more, I have a link. Go into the video description, click on a free 15-minute wellness insight to be able to learn how I can help you or how you can take action-oriented steps to live a happier and healthier, more purpose-driven life. Go to www.counselingwellnesssolutions.com. Access the articles. I'll have a toolkit for this as well for you to break through all of these things. Subscribe to this channel and learn more about how our brain is working, how a licensed mental health counselor can help you learn better about awareness, acceptance, and action of mastering your inner game. Share this with others who may also feel like they're introverted, extroverted, and understand better and find awareness for them. And of course, subscribe and hit like and support me as I am trying to help others live a more valued life. I'm Jennifer Evans with Empowering Wellness Counseling Solutions. Thank you so much. Thanks for watching. Today's insights helped you to reflect more on insights on how to live more intentionally in your relationships or in your professional or personal growth. Please give this video a like and thumbs up and share it with others who could also use the insight and support. Each week, I dive into these real strategies that are coming out of my book, Key Steps to Live a Happier and Healthier Life, Part 3, Interpersonal Effectiveness. So please be sure to subscribe and to join us each week to learn more about how to create deeper, more meaningful connections, set healthier boundaries, and live a purpose-driven life. All of the principles I teach in my workbook. Your growth matters, so thank you for being here. Let's keep building a happier and healthier life together, one step at a time.